All right, welcome back, sister. We're going to chat about the 16th century and its impact on the Carmelite order and the growth or the flowering or the need of thought that changed, that gave rise to, again, this concept we're driving towards of being a foundation stone in faith and in culture. Um, what is it about the 16th century that's so important to understand?
Well, the 16th century was a sort of final upheaval of what went on in Europe, starting with the 1300s. Carmelites had arrived in Europe around 1250. About 100 years later, Europe was devastated by the Black Death, the epidemic of bubonic plague, which it's believed that a quarter to a third of the population of Europe died. And of those who died, there was a higher percentage of priests and religious because, of course, they were taking care of the sick. I read that 80% of the priests in England died because of the Black Death, which was a pretty high level.
It's a crippling number.
It is. And at the same time, Europe was going through, England and France were going through the 100 Years' War. So, as far as living a peaceful life, not many people had the opportunity. Um, the effect of all that, by the 1400s, physically, Europe had recovered, but the church was in absolute disorder. That was the time that they had 3 popes at one point. And scandals and abuses were rampant. And there was a new admission that the church needed to be reformed. Also during the 1400s, the friars admitted women to be Carmelites. So the Carmelite nuns date from the 1400s.
Let me see.
And by the
So
beginning
you're
of,
asking
yeah,
what happened to women who were in love with this charism or this order? There was just no place for them. They weren't admitted, or it's exclusive.
well, they would have been directed personally,
I see.
private vows, and follow the nuns were living in community. That's the difference. Um, so by the beginning of the 16th century, the 1500s, religion was as chaotic as it is today.
I'm gonna say all of this sounds like yesterday's news.
Exactly. That's when the Reformation broke out, the Counter Reformation. Later, you'd have the wars of religion and all that. So, um, as far as living a peaceful life, um, as I said, not many people had the chance, and there was a number of serious attempts to reform the church in various levels. So the Council of Trent called for serious renewal, and most religious orders did try to put the council documents into practice. And it was at this time, around 1562, that was when we began, a nun in Spain, who was a Carmelite, had been living as a Carmelite for, I think, 20 years at that point, um, felt called to return to a more eremitical lifestyle.
Can I ask the definition of eremitical? That word's come up a couple of times.
Okay. Basically silence and solitude.
I see.
The challenge, of course, is to live silence and solitude in community. A hermit all by himself has a lot easier arrangement. But as an order, we were called to live it in community. And so St. Teresa of Jesus, founded her first monastery of nuns. And because the community that she entered, there were about 180 nuns in the same building. Some of them had enough money to buy for themselves, but the community was actually very poor. And a number of the nuns would often go out and stay with friends just to get a square meal.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the community life was quite chaotic, serious, but she found it impossible to have any silence and solitude. So she founded her first monastery, St. Joseph's, which is still in existence. And as a sign of the renewal that she was trying to create, she changed over from wearing shoes to wearing sandals. And that's where the name barefoot Carmelites, or the Latin is Discalced Carmelites, came into being.
Okay.
So we are a reform branch of the ancient order of Carmelites. And a number of other religious orders were also doing the same thing. There were the barefoot Franciscans, I think Dominican Trinitarians, I think also. So we still wear sandals. And the best known of the Discalced Carmelites is Saint Teresa of Jesus, Saint Teresa of Child Jesus, Little Flower. So I wear the same habit that she does. She's usually pictured with a white mantle, because we have a white mantle on for special liturgies. And so that was when Teresa founded her reform. And she was the one who made the comment about being a foundation stone, because, as I said, the whole time of in 1500s was a time of upheaval. At first, her efforts to live the original charism, in silence, more silence and solitude, were approved. But then there was considerable resistance. So the struggle to maintain her original goal was quite serious. Her collaborator, St. John of the Cross, was imprisoned for 9 months until he managed to escape. He was pressured to reject Teresa's reform, and he refused. So, in order to encourage her sons and daughters, the friars and Discalced friars and Discalced nuns, she and keep the bar high for what they wanted to achieve. That's when she wrote, "If anyone should see that her order is falling away in anything, let her try to be a stone on which it can be rebuilt. The Lord will help to accomplish this." So that's where the idea of being a foundation stone began.
Mhm.
At least she's the one who put it into words.
Right, right. Do you have a sense of the story of the moment where it became clear to her, um, this wasn't working? She needed to do something different, or was it just a growing problem or awareness that she
Well, actually, it was her niece who had the first idea.
Yeah?
She wasn't too enthusiastic. She was quite comfortable in her monastery. She had a nice little suite of rooms, and she didn't have any. Her father had set up enough money for her to live. She was very popular, extremely popular. And so she really wasn't personally inclined to go along with the idea of going back to the original charism,
I mean,
until she started having visions, and our Lord told her that he wanted her to found the order, the monastery.
okay. Wow. And so she went from that, from living like that, she then went on to become one of the I don't know what you'd call it, saints of the highest caliber, or the strongest caliber of, um,
Yep.
how you would describe this, but yeah, she seems like an incredibly strong person, incredibly
Well, she
because
was. In fact, when her father died, she had, I think, 5 brothers and 2 sisters. When her father died, he left her as the executrix of his will. He knew that she could handle it.
Oh, okay.
Not any of the boys. She was the one put in charge.
Amazing. So during this time, there's not only the Black Death, which is, I imagine, it's decimating families and, I don't know, educational and structural systems and family lineages and passing on things. And so I imagine things like economy and family heirs and all of this is in upheaval, and then the church going through what it's going through, and there's all of the, like you said, the scandals and so on, and then to have the order that she's joined, and she's found a way to be very comfortable, but it's also chaotic, and nobody's actually making any progress, and so then
She was called.
yeah,
God
so
called
it's
her
like
to
God
do this.
broke into her life and just convicted her of something that he was moved to. Okay, so friends, what we're going to do next in the next conversation here is define this foundation stone, and then after that, we're going to talk about, um, well, of course, how it applies to the world, and uh, how you live an ordinary life with this sort of thing, and then we'll talk about the impact of this. So we will be back.